Hi, everybody. This is Nina Anderson with Wine Shop at Home. And we've got Abby Gardner with Abby Cooks Wild. She's waving to everybody. Welcome to our Wine and Dine cooking and wine class. This is the second one that we've put together. I'm super excited. Hopefully all of you are a part of the world of wine with Nina Anderson. I started this Facebook group about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago now. And this is all about creating community. That's really where my heart is these days, of creating a space for us to be able to talk about wine, to talk about food, and to learn different things from each other and create a true community. So Abby and I partnered together and we're doing quarterly cooking classes. And so this is our second one. And so we'll have another one coming after the first of the year. We're trying to do them seasonally to make sure that, you know, that's kind of the time of the year for the right food and the right wine. So I'm going to turn it over to Abby real quick and let her share with you what we're going to do. And then we'll pop back and forth and I'll share some different wines that are going to go good with the recipe that we're making tonight. So Abby, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is so cool to see everybody. Yeah, I just want to give a special shout out to my best friend from college who's on the call with us tonight, Stacy. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. And to all of you who are here. So tonight, I chose to make what I'm calling, well, it's a vegetarian recipe, but you're never going to miss the meat component of this. In fact, if you wanted to, you could even pair it with chicken or salmon and serve the risotto as a side to accompany the chicken or the fish. It would probably go well with any protein, actually. But this is from a blog that I follow called Feasting at Home. So if any of you is interested and want to take that down, I'll also share the link to the recipe with our group once we're done with the demo tonight. But this is for a butternut squash risotto with leeks and spinach. I kind of went a little Food Network this evening because I wanted to at least kind of get this going. But before I start, this recipe can be made either on the stovetop or in an Instant Pot. So can I just get a show of hands? Who's cooking with me tonight? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and who's using an Instant Pot? No one. Okay, I'm going to demo this in the Instant Pot. If you're using this on the stovetop, I'm going to be fully transparent. I've never made this on the stovetop before. I've always used my Instant Pot. So go figure, right? So there may be a few extra steps for those of you cooking on the stovetop. And forgive me because I obviously didn't do my homework and I should have probably thought ahead about that a little bit. If you are cooking on your stovetop, is your butternut squash already cut and cubed and ready to roll? Okay, get your ovens preheated or heated to 400 because you're going to need to roast the butternut squash. So while I'm doing the demo in the Instant Pot behind me, you guys can get that in the oven and get that started. And my apologies. This is real life. This is real life.
So Abby,
for those of you who may be new to joining us and maybe who don't know me, I just do want to do a quick introduction. My name is Abby Gardner. I live in Golden, Colorado, and I own a meal prep and delivery service called Abby Cooks Wild. And I serve my clients up and down the Front Range of Colorado. And I do fully customized menus and meals for people. And then I do all of the legwork. So most people who work with me tell me they hate to cook. And what I have found is that cooking isn't the issue. It's all the other stuff that goes into getting dinner on the table, right? It's thinking about what to make. Do I have what I need? Do I have to go to the store? How can I avoid the store? And let's just order pizza, right? So I eliminate that whole process and bring you whole food, real food, and great, quick, easy meals that you can keep in your freezer until you're ready for them. So back to the risotto. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of cubed butternut squash. I know I did a video, it feels like an eternity ago, but it was probably about a week and a half ago. I taught you on Abby Cooks Wild. You can go on Facebook to Abby Cooks Wild, and there's a video there that shows you how to cube a butternut squash and peel it and do all that stuff. Recipe also calls for leeks, which are part of the onion family. They look like really, I call them James and the Giant Peach chives, if that's how you kind of want to envision it. And they add a lot of really great flavor without an overpowering onion taste. So if you're someone who doesn't enjoy onions, leeks are a great option. I also have some fresh sage here that I have cut up. And this is the star of this dish, in my opinion. We're also going to be adding some spinach, which is on the counter behind me. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Is there anyone on here that owns an Instant Pot that is afraid to use it? Because I hear that a lot too. Okay, awesome.
Abby, I have a question. Abby, on the leeks, do you use just the bulb or the bulb and the leaves?
Nope, the leaves get tossed.
Okay.
It's really hard to use the leaves. They're really tough, and there's ways to use them to infuse oil, and there's ways to use them in other things, but most of the time they're really not good for anything. Like, they're great to add to vegetable stock, Carlene. Like, if you're going to make your own vegetable stock, it's a great thing to stash in the freezer with all the extra ends of whatever you use, and then use that to make vegetable stock.
Thank
So
you.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
So, and Abby, I have a question. If we're roasting the butternut squash in the oven, how long do we roast it for?
The recipe says about 25 minutes. If you guys want to bump the heat to 450, you could. Just, you'll have to keep an eye on it. You're going to add that in at the end. So I would expect that you'll be able to kind of continue along with me while I'm doing the demo.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so I was one of those people who was afraid of an Instant Pot because I thought for sure it was going to explode on me when I used it. And so I was really, really reluctant to buy one. I was really, really reluctant to try it. And I think the first thing I ever made in my Instant Pot was hard-boiled eggs, which I don't make a habit of doing because it's just as easy to boil the water and put the eggs and cover the thing and move it off the heat. That's my preferred method. That doesn't mean if you wanted to get one and try it, you would have an issue. I found this recipe and decided to try it, and it is one of my all-time favorite fall meals. So my family is upstairs. They are chomping at the bit for me to get this done. And in the Instant Pot, this is ready in less than 15 minutes, start to finish. So with the stovetop instructions, it's going to take you a little longer. So just be aware of that. And I also, just for the people cooking on the stove, I just want to look through this real quick. So you're going to want to get a large pot on the stove over like medium heat, and put a couple tablespoons of olive oil or oil of your choice in the bottom. Cooking with olive oil is great, but you have to be careful because it's got a very low, I just lost the word. Boiling point's not the right word, but
burns pretty much. Yeah, it burns.
Yeah, so you just need to be careful because if you cook with it over too high a heat, it's going to oxidize, and then you're going to lose all of the benefits. So if you don't want to use olive oil, you can use you can use grapeseed oil, you can use avocado oil, and get the benefit of it that way. Those have a higher point of whatever it is that I can't remember.
Is it a smoke point? Is it the smoke point?
Yes,
there we go.
So I'm going to do that to the Instant Pot while you guys do that in your regular Dutch oven pot. So I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons of oil.
A couple tablespoons of oil. But how much water?
Abby, I do a combo of olive oil and butter, and that seems to work really.
Yeah,
great
whatever
flavor.
works for you. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I have butter in the fridge. It just I keep the olive oil right here, so it's just easy for me to squirt. And then what you're going to do once that oil starts to shimmer in that pot, you're going to add the leeks in. And you're just gonna kind of saute them until they get kind of fragrant and start to soften up a little bit. For my Instant Pot, I'm gonna set it on saute. It's a matter of just pushing the saute button.
Here's another one. Oh, Lord. Right, do I have a place to put these? No, yeah, let's put that.
And Abby, should everybody be if they're doing stovetop, should they be cooking their rice also?
Not yet, because we're gonna add the rice in here
Okay.
in just a couple minutes. We're gonna
Okay.
cook the vegetables down a little bit, so that you can get the flavors to marry up a little bit.
Okay, perfect.
And Rita, I'm sorry, I'm such a mother, but I'm worried about your sleeves around flame. Oh, yeah, I'm good, yeah. I'm good. But they saying, yeah, thank you. Saying it out loud once. Yes. Thank you. No, I'm not your mother, but hey, we have to be each other's mothers now.
Girl,
All our
yeah.
moms are gone.
My brain is just so fried right now.
I know, mine, I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I'm impressed you're doing this.
So something else, I'm gonna be talking through the Instant Pot just because that's what I'm using, but the key to cooking in an Instant Pot, if it's something that you've kind of been on the fence about, is liquid. If you have liquid in there, things will be fine. The liquid is what's gonna help create the steam that you need for the pressure to rise in the pot to cook whatever's in there. So that is what has made them kind of more popular, because there's a perception that you can cook things quicker. Obviously, for this recipe, it's going to come together very quickly when you use the pot. But that doesn't mean that there's not advantages to cooking it on the stove top either. So just know that there's no good, bad, right, wrong way to
1, 2, 3. You can't keep it there, it's hot.
do this. Do what you're comfortable with.
And then wondering
The
if
oil in my
Rita
Instant
could
Pot
put
is
their thing
starting
on,
to heat
on
up. I'm gonna
mute.
go ahead and add the leeks in and let them start to saute down.
There we go. So when I was young, we had a thing called the pressure cooker, which is what an Instapot is. And so I think it's kind of funny how it's come around. And so now instead of the pound key, it's a hashtag, the same thing.
Yeah,
How's everybody doing?
good.
Okay, how are those leeks looking? Those of you cooking on the stove top, are they getting softer?
And they smell so good. I wish
Oh,
our
good.
computers had smell.
Yay!
Yeah, they
So-
smell fantastic, and
Oh.
yes, they are softening.
So
Hey.
Abby, what
Yes.
does it mean? Because there were a couple of the ingredients on the list that said rough cut. What does that mean?
It just means you don't need to don't go crazy with the knife. Just do a rough chop.
Okay,
Doesn't need to be whole, doesn't need to be finely diced. Just cut up is how I interpret that.
okay, perfect. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure, because that's a
Yeah.
new thing I've not heard about before.
Yeah. Everyone uses different terminology, and I just kind of always just use the recipe as a guide. I kind of figure if it's cut up and it looks like it could be bite-sized, that's good enough for me. So I'm just gonna give these a quick stir. The other thing I want to mention about an Instant Pot, you can kind of see the steam coming up behind me. I've also got cabinets here. So I'm trying to keep the pot in front of the cabinet so that the steam isn't going up underneath the cabinets, because that's another issue for a lot of people, is making sure they've got enough counter space and enough room. Okay, so once your leeks kind of look bright green and they're starting to soften up a little bit, you're gonna go ahead, and I neglected to mention the garlic, but you're gonna add the garlic and the cut up sage leaves. If you didn't have fresh sage and you want to use a teaspoon or teaspoon and a half of ground sage from your spice rack, you are welcome to do that. the fresh sage just lends itself to a really, really nice flavor. And so that's why I choose to use it instead.
Ooh, the sage smells so good.
I also kind of like real sage leaves because they've got like a velvety, like a fuzzy velvety texture. And I just think that's fun. So
Connie, I think the old pressure cookers were scarier than Instapots.
yeah.
Making sure it was fully down before you took the little bell off.
And
Could
your
be.
mom always scared you, don't touch it, don't touch it.
Abby, I've been growing sage in my tower garden, and I was waiting to do it until Thanksgiving. So I got to harvest my sage today.
Yay!
I was so glad to hear
That's
that.
exciting.
I know, isn't that fun? It grows really nicely. And I was glad to hear you say that it's the star of the show in this recipe.
Yeah, it really is.
So we can go ahead and
go ahead.
we can go ahead and add in our garlic and sage.
Go ahead. And then you're gonna let that, I'm just looking at the instructions for cooktop, so bear with me a second. Okay, and then once the sage and the garlic start to get kind of fragrant, then you're gonna add in your rice. So this is where things are gonna get a little out of order for those of you cooking on the stovetop versus me here in my prep kitchen using my Instant Pot. My next step is to add my squash. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. You all just stay where you are and I'll come back and guide you through the next step here. Okay, so those of you who are cooking on your stovetops, you're gonna go ahead and add your rice. You're gonna saute it for about a minute, and then you're gonna add a splash of white wine if you want it, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't. Gonna add a little extra flavor, a little extra zip, and let the wine cook off. Okay, and while you all are doing that, I am also going to add, I have a bottle of wine here that I cannot get open. So I am resorting to chicken broth. My husband stole the corkscrew from where it was down here and I'm not gonna go get it. So I'm just gonna add in a little. Thank you. My son is in the vicinity. He just offered to go get the corkscrew, but I'm just gonna do it this way. So I've got a little bit of chicken broth in the bottom. I'm gonna scrape up the bottom of my Instant Pot because I've got some really yummy brown bits at the bottom there. I'm just gonna scrape that up. Is everyone still getting lots of yummy smell from all of this?
That smells great. Great.
Good. Okay. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead because I'm using the pressure cooker. I need to add 2 cups of I'm gonna add my broth now. So it just calls for 2 cups.
But those cooking on the stovetop, we need to wait till the white wine is kind of absorbed into the rice.
Let the wine cook off. Go ahead and scrape up any brown bits. And then you'll go ahead and add what I'm gonna add here is a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and nutmeg is a huge component to this dish. It's gonna add a layer of flavor that you would not even know was missing unless you didn't put it in. So we're gonna go ahead and put in, I think it's a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh yeah, a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. So you guys can add that in as well. I'm just gonna guess. have white pepper, I encourage you to use that, but if you only have black pepper or you don't want to mess with white pepper, then use what you have. There's no reason to, you know, worry about having the wrong thing. You can't go wrong here, and you can't mess this up. It's really hard to mess up. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And then I'm going to start getting this ready. I'm going to seal my Instant Pot and let it finish doing the work for me. So let me do that, and then I'll come back and walk you through the rest of this.
Did you add your rice yet?
You should have added your rice. Mhm.
No, but did you add your rice in there? Because
Did I add my rice? Hold on. No, because it didn't tell me. I skipped that step. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I was supposed to add my rice and I didn't, so I'm gonna add it now.
Nice catch, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. I have like 2 brain cells left tonight for some reason. I don't know what's going on, but.
That's how live presentations go.
Exactly.
Expect the unexpected.
Exactly. So if those of you who are catching this on the replay, I should have added the rice when I added my garlic and my sage, and I should have sauteed it up a little bit, and I didn't do that. But like I just said, this is hard to mess up. So thanks to Nicole, she kind of saved dinner for me at my house tonight. I owe her a coffee, and the rice is now in the Instant Pot. So I'm going to go ahead and seal up my Instant Pot and let it finish doing its job. Basically what we're going to do, if you're doing the replay and you're making this with the replay, you're going to seal your Instant Pot and set your timer for 6 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm taking it off saute, and then I'm going to just put it on manual. I'm going to actually do rice and set it for six minutes.
like white rice
No,
instead of.
hold on. I am totally messing myself up. I need to just give myself a minute. I'm putting it on manual, and then I'm going to set it for 6 minutes.
Okay. Is this the pressure cooker mode?
Yeah, this is just on the manual setting. Like there's so many different versions of Instant Pots, but I think most all of them have a setting that says manual, and you're going to put it on manual and then let it come up to pressure. So it says that it's on right now. It's going to take a little time to come up to pressure, and then you'll see, well, you won't be able to, but on mine, it'll go to 6 minutes, and that's how I know the cook time has actually begun. So for those of you who are doing stovetop cooking, you've added your wine, right? You've added your salt and pepper, and now you're going to add your stock. So 2 cups of vegetable stock, chicken stock, whatever you have. If you are in a pinch and you don't have any stock, you can use water. But you want to add enough to cover the rice in the pot. And then you're going to bring that to a gentle rolling simmer. And then maybe check your squash and see how it's looking in the oven there, because you want it to be soft, or softening, I should say. It got really quiet. Everyone must be muted.
Okay, so not completely soft, but softening, because when you add it to the liquid, it'll.
Yeah, leave it in the oven. Yeah, you'll definitely want to leave it in the oven. You might want to stir it, like flip it around, you know, kind of shake it up a little bit, but definitely leave it in the oven because you want it to be cooked through by the time you're done simmering everything. So we're kind of in a period of time now where we're just doing hurry up and wait. So pour another glass of wine, engage in the conversation for a couple minutes.
Hey,
Maybe
Abby.
this is where I can talk about the wine.
Yeah, this is a great time to do that.
Okay, but someone had a question.
Well, I was just going to say that
Someone had a question though.
I was saying that one, for the people that are doing it on the stovetop, what I like to do is have my broth already heated, but not boiling, just hot. And then I add it like a half a cup at a time and stir it and let the arborio rice, because it's so great at absorbing. So that's just kind of
That's a great tip, Lee.
okay. Then I'll be quiet now and listen about the
No, no,
wine.
no, it's fine. Sorry, Nina, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. That's a great tip, Lee. I know for all of us that watch those cooking shows, that's what they kind of recommend. Let it absorb, and then you add more and let it absorb. So, okay. So I made 3 recommendations on wines for this recipe. And I picked all white wines, and I did that on purpose. So I know some of us are seasonal drinkers where we like white wines in the summer, red wines in the winter. But in the fall, we're kind of in that bridge place where we can have both whites and reds, depending on the foods that we have. And we're still in that place where we don't want them too heavy, but we're moving out of like the softer, maybe sweeter wines and into maybe the more smoother and bolder wines. So the 3 wines that I kind of chose was a sparkling, and Lee had mentioned that she really loves sparklings with risotto. And I love sparklings with just about anything. They're very versatile, and they will go with a lot of different foods depending on what you pair it with. But what I find that this time of the year, things like the butternut squashes and the pumpkins and the zucchinis and all your root vegetables, they've got so much flavor, and you serve them with things like the rices and casseroles and all this good stuff that you bring out all these great flavors. And so the wine is still crisp because we're in a like an Indian summer, right? Today it was what, 70 something outside, but the evenings are cool. So it makes sense to have a nice crisp white wine to go with your fall dishes. All right. So this is where we start moving out of the sweeter wines and move more into like things like Sauvignon Blancs and Chardonnays, etc. So the Brut sparkling that I wanted to share with you, sparklings, you know, they tend to have a little apple, a little pear, and they can have a little citrus on them, especially your Bruts, because they're a little bit on the drier side. So I don't know if you're aware, but sparklings are 3 different levels. You've got Brut for dry, Seco for in the middle, which is not dry nor sweet, and then you have Semi-Seco, which is semi-sweet. And so, wait a minute, gotta stir my stuff. And then, so I picked a Brut because it's a little bit on the drier side that will go really nicely with the butternut squash, the risotto, and all the flavors that you've got going with the leeks and everything else. So just a side tip, I do have sparkling wine glass. Why do we use sparkling wine glasses with sparkling? It actually is really important. Every wine glass serves a purpose. Every wine glass has been engineered on purpose to go with the particular wine. So with a sparkling wine, the reason why you have this tulip style or this flute style glass is because it keeps your bubbles flowing in the glass. Okay, so that's why you want to use a sparkling flute when you're drinking your sparklings. And by the way, sparklings are beautiful during the holidays. You can drop your little berries in here, make it very festive and very pretty. You can also do bellinis, raspberry liqueurs, blackberry liqueurs, peach liqueurs. All of those make a great holiday drink, okay? Another wine that I picked to go was a Semillon. And so the Semillon is very, very similar to a Sauvignon Blanc or a Chenin Blanc. So it's crisp, it's dry, but not too dry, very refreshing. And especially when you pull it out of the fridge and you let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to get all these beautiful flavors and beautiful aromas that are going to marry up very perfectly with your fall foods. So the Semillon that I have, it's our Monarch Semillon. This is our wine like the Monarch Butterfly. And what I love about this is you're going to get lemon, lime, apricot, and a little pineapple. So you've got some tropical aromas as well as your citrusy aromas. It's going to go perfectly with this particular dish that you have here tonight. And it's also, like I said, on the smooth to drier side. So that crisp and refreshing feeling on it. So I think this is a good choice, but if you don't do a Semillon, you can do a Sauvignon Blanc, you can do a Chenin Blanc, you can do something along those lines. But then my absolute favorite choice is the Chardonnay. Okay. And the reason why I like the Chardonnay is because Chardonnays tend to go with nice, saltier foods, big buttery. Oh, that was my butternut squash. Oh, yay, Karen, you are drinking the Monarch Semillon. Yay, I love it. Thank you. But this is our Halcyon Chardonnay. Chardonnays are amazing. I think Chardonnays tend to get a really bad rap. And because everybody's like, oh, I don't like Chardonnay. Well, some people may not like the fruit forward Chardonnay and some people may not like the buttery Chardonnay, but there is a difference depending on the region and how the wine was produced. So when you get that fruit forward Chardonnay, what you're going to get is a Chardonnay that has been stainless steel tanked and brings out the fruit. When you get a buttery Chardonnay, you're going to get one that has been oak barreled, okay? Hence the color will look different too. A buttery Chardonnay is going to have more of a golden color to it. But one of my favorite things is if you take a little blue cheese, stick it through the roof of your mouth and wash it down with your Chardonnay, it's magical. It's just really, really magical and a pretty awesome taste. But you know, Chardonnays tend to have grapefruit and lemon and lime and a lot of that citrusy feel to them. You can get the toasty oak to it, especially if it's been oak barreled. So keep that in mind that it's another good crisp fall wine that will go well with many, many of your fall dishes. So there are my wine recommendations for this particular recipe.
Can you show me the Chardonnay bottle when you get a chance? Halcyon. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's Halcyon is the seabird. So a lot of our wines are seasonal, regional, etc. So another little side tip: it's a drug that dentists use when you're doing things like root canals, and it works really good. Okay, Abby, back to you.
Okay, so my Instant Pot has come up to pressure. I did realize that you always need to make sure that your valve is in the sealing position, and mine was a little off. It was releasing steam while it was coming to pressure, so I had to move the valve real quick. But I've got 4 minutes left. I may add another minute or so to account for that lag time. But if you are in the midst of things, you're stirring in your kitchens, you've got the squash in the oven. Nina, you said that your timer went off. Does that mean you set the timer for your squash?
Yeah, for my squash.
Okay. So go ahead and if it's ready, go ahead and pull it out. If not, leave it in there. But you just want it to be, you know, roasted. Maybe a little caramelized.
I took a toothpick and stuck in there and it's nice and just perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, awesome. So you can remove it from the oven and just set it aside. And let's see. And your risotto is just gonna cook at a slower pace. The arborio rice is gonna plump up. And if you need to add more liquid, go ahead and do so. And it's just going to be like a slow cook. Generally speaking, it takes anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes for it to really kind of start getting that creamy texture. But once you start seeing that, then you're going to add your squash in. If you're using your Instant Pot, obviously squash and rice are already in there. And what you can expect is that the butternut squash is actually going to break down and almost become one with the creaminess of the arborio rice. So when you take the lid off of your Instant Pot, don't be disappointed if when you stir it, the butternut squash kind of breaks down. It's supposed to.
The flavors are so good on the stovetop, you know, because you're supposed to taste as you're cooking, right?
Yes, yes, taste and sip, taste and sip. And then as everything starts to come together, as it gets creamier and the squash starts to break down a little bit. I've got 1 more minute left. So when it beeps, I'll take the lid off and give it a quick stir, see how it's looking. And then I'll add in my spinach. I always go heavy on spinach when I'm making a recipe like this because spinach wilts down quite a bit. And I like having that pop of green. And I like knowing that I just need to make sure I don't have little people with ears down here. I also like knowing that my kids are eating it and not really knowing that they're eating something good for them. So it's a good way for me to sneak it to them. They know it's in there, but if they saw that I was putting all of this in there, they might throw up the caution flag a little bit. So yeah. And then something, okay. So you can hear it beeping. Actually, I need to let it sit for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna let this valve stay in place. And then after 5 minutes, I'm gonna move it to the side and the rest of the steam will release, which will then enable me to open the Instant Pot without getting a facial. I mean, I'll probably get one anyway, but a much lighter facial.
I love it. So Abby, on the stove top with the rice,
Yeah.
should it be slightly crunchy when you add the butternut in, or should it be totally soft?
Let it be soft.
Okay.
Yeah, let it soften up a little bit. If you want to add the squash in and kind of let it start to break down, you totally can. You know, it just kind of depends on your comfort level, Nina.
Okay. No, I just want to ask because I don't want to do it too soon.
Right, and the squash, you don't want the squash to absorb any of the liquid that's designed for the arborio rice either. So I would let it go for a little longer if you can.
Okay.
Abby, I think this would be a nice recipe to add some mushrooms too.
You could totally add mushrooms.
Yeah, you could get creative with, yeah.
It's a really versatile recipe, actually. I would love to add mushrooms, but I have an 11-year-old boy who, if he sees a mushroom, will go on strike. So I probably could, if I had like really done a fine chop on the mushrooms. I actually have some portobello mushrooms upstairs in my fridge. I probably could have done a really fine chop and gotten away with it. But that umami flavor is something that he just does not have a taste for yet at 11, which so I'm going to let him be 11 and it's still going to turn out amazing. So, yeah.
What would be some other things that you could add to something like this? I like the mushroom idea, but what else do you think you could add?
If you didn't have spinach or you wanted to use kale instead of spinach, you can do kale. I would, let's see, there's some optional choices, like it's not really vegetables, but like if you wanted to top it with Manchego cheese or feta or Parmesan, you can add that in. I also have some pecans here that I'm gonna top mine with. You can choose, and I didn't make the time to do this today, normally I would have, but you could actually make these ahead of time, a little bit of sugar in a saucepan so that it liquefies, and then add the pecans in with a little touch of cinnamon, and let them kind of get toasted in that sweetness, and then add it to the top of the risotto right before you serve it, and it adds another layer of deliciousness and a little bit of crunch. If you didn't have pecans, you can use almonds, you can use walnuts. There's really, pine nuts would be another great thing to add here. So it's so versatile. There's so many ways you can take it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about like cranberries or craisins to add into it? What do you think about something like that?
It would be amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you thinking about Thanksgiving dinner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm like thinking, wow, I might throw some of these in there.
Yeah, I would. If you add the cranberries though, I would add a little bit of Manchego or something to offset it. I mean,
okay.
you'll still have the saltiness and the creaminess of the risotto as it is, but to add that little extra element with the cheese would be a really nice offset for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine risotto without Parmigiano.
Yeah.
I know, I need to,
I've got my Parmesan. It is ready to go. I can hardly wait to, I've got this really cool planer toy that's so fun, and
That's so much fun.
yeah.
so how much cheese, I forgot, that was the one thing I didn't pre-prep. How much cheese should you add in?
Whatever you're comfortable with. You can do anywhere from a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup. If you're feeding, you know, this makes a lot. So don't be afraid to add more or take something out. There's no, average would be somewhere between 1/4 and a 1/2 cup, I would say. But, depending on your family and their taste buds, you can add more if you want.
I cut the recipe in half, Abby, because it just is me tonight.
Yeah.
And it does make a lot.
It's making a lot.
So
Yeah.
how do I rewarm it?
You can just add a little extra broth when you're ready to reheat it, and just nuke it if you want to reheat it in the microwave. You can also heat it on the stovetop. The
Just
other
put some
thing
more
I'll
fluid
mention,
in.
the other thing I'll mention, because there is a lot of this, and for many of you on the call, it may just be you that you're cooking for, and maybe you're cooking for 2, maybe 3 people tops. You can always freeze this, and it reheats beautifully. So, if it's too much and you won't enjoy the leftovers, or it's too much you're going to get sick of it before you enjoy it all, put it in the freezer and then pull it out and use it as a side at Thanksgiving dinner. This is the perfect kind of sleeper dish to put onto your Thanksgiving table. No one will be expecting it. It's going to be something new and novel and absolutely delicious. Everyone will love it. I'm going to go ahead and release the rest of the steam. So you're going to hear it hiss, and you'll see the steam coming out. That is supposed to happen. And it won't take long, but that is one of the things about an instant pot, I think, that scares people, is when to release the steam, when to not release the steam, all of that kind of stuff. So as long as you have it in an open space and not under a cabinet, you should be fine. I actually feel safer using this one than I do like the old-fashioned ones that like my grandmother used to use, where you couldn't even do anything with it. It was just, you were at the mercy of the 2 halves, and yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? How's it looking in the kitchen? Everything turning out?
My
okay?
kitchen smells amazing.
Good.
And the colors are so pretty with the green, and I just added my squash to mine. Oh, I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah, I hope you will all take pictures and post them in the group. I think it would be really fun to see how everybody's turned out. It's
I
kind
would
of like
love that. I would love that.
It's kind of like a paint and sip. It's all gonna look different, but it's all gonna be the same.
Okay, adding in the squash.
Okay. Awesome. It's
So
still
you let the
releasing. So I'm
Squash
just,
cook with it for a while, and then you add the spinach in, Abby?
yeah, I would add the spinach in right at the end, and let it wilt down and get bright green. You don't want the spinach to get that Popeye kind of green.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean? Yeah. But the bright green is such a beautiful contrast with the orange of the squash and the brown from the umami and the risotto itself.
Rita, how are you guys doing?
Here's mine while Rita's answering. Can you see it?
Oh, it looks delicious.
Oh my gosh, it looks amazing.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And now I'm going to,
Good thing I have 2 Italian ladies over here with me who make risotto. So we're doing it up over here. I tell you, it's going to be really good.
I know. Does it smell amazing in your house?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
This is not done to me.
Okay.
You taste it. Taste your mind. Well, no one tasted done.
I just added my spinach to the Instant Pot. I'm just kind of giving it a stir to kind of let it get to that bright green wilted stage, and then I will share it with all of you so you can kind of see what it looks like.
So anyway, so Katrina paid
Let's
12.
put it back on mute.
Oh, yeah, mute rude.
So I think we're gonna make a side salad with ours for dinner to
Yeah.
have with it. And then I
That's
think
what I'm
we'll just,
having with mine. Yep.
yeah, nice little side salad.
And again, you know, if you wanted to have this with a protein, it would go well with pretty much any protein that you want to put with it. I tend to lean towards chicken or salmon, but you could do it with beef, you could do it with pork. It really, or any white fish would be amazing as well.
I went to the farmer's market on Sunday and there's this bakery called Rebel's Bakery. And they have this bread. Like if you don't get to the farmer's market by an hour after it's open, they're sold out. So I rode my bike down. So I'm having a piece of my farmer's market.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna enjoy every bite of it. Nina, I should be doing a salad, but I put so much spinach in mine that I'm not gonna feel too guilty.
That's okay. You've got all the greens that you need, right?
Yep, lots of spinach. So I love this recipe, Abby. It's great.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm just putting this in my bowl so it'll be easier for y'all to see.
And then when do you add the cheese in?
Right before I serve it.
Okay, and you want it to kind of make it kind of gooey in there a little bit?
Yeah. So this is what mine looks like.
Okay.
And
Yum.
I'm just gonna sprinkle my pecans on the top, and I'll add the cheese when I go upstairs to feed my family. But this served alongside with a garden salad, and if you have and want to use like a crusty bread, it's like the perfect fall meal in my opinion. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. Thank you so
You're welcome.
much.
Thank you all so much for being here. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed hanging out and chatting with all of you.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoy it as much as I'm going to tonight. And if you have any questions, or if I can, you know, answer questions for you going forward, feel free to post in the group or hop over to Abby Cooks Wild and email me there.
Okay, let's get a quick photo of everybody. So gather in and let's just do a quick photo. And all right. All right, 1, 2, and awesome, I got it. Awesome, thank you guys.
Hi,
Thank you so
Debbie.
much for being a part of this. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We will post the video, or I'll send the video to all of you who signed up. You get the recording of it and you can rewatch it, and stay tuned for the next cooking class, but there will also be another wine cocktail making class in between. So stay tuned for that too. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Happy tea.
Bye, thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks.
I think my